Hey, what's good, everyone? This is April, aka your Cosmic Homegirl, and I'm here to report the cosmic weather report, the cosmic news on the full moon in Capricorn that's happening on July 3rd of 2023. So I am so excited and grateful to be invited back to Nadiya Shah's channel here on YouTube. And thank you guys in advance for anything that you guys have to say. I really appreciate you guys. So what's going on with this full moon? Here in the USA, this is right before a holiday, right? This is right before July 4th. And we celebrate Independence Day of our country, of the US. And what's crazy is this is a full moon in Capricorn, and the United States has its natal Pluto in Capricorn. And Pluto just went retrograde back into the sign of Capricorn a couple of weeks ago as well. So also the ruling planet of Capricorn, which is Saturn, just went retrograde. So what does this all mean for us as a collective? Well, once again, I live in the US, so I can just give an example of something that I've seen in the headlines that has to do with the US. If you live anywhere else in the world and you notice any changes, any headlines that make sense to the astrological transits right now, then of course, let us know. Leave a comment. Let us know what you see and observe. But we have the full moon in Capricorn. Like I said, Pluto back into Capricorn, wrapping some things up before it dips back into Aquarius. And also Saturn, the rule of Capricorn, is retrograde. So Saturn and Pluto rule the government, right? The big wigs in our country, even corporations. It rules corporations. If you are working in any type of a job, any type of a company, and you yourself are not the CEO or the owner, but you're a worker and there's people above you that actually own the company, those big wigs are also ruled by Capricorn and Saturn. But yeah, corporations and big companies totally ruled by that energy too. But what I've seen, what caught my attention today, is a post online, which is where a lot of us get our news now, right? That listed a few different laws that were either passed or rejected that were major within the US in the last week, in the last few days. So Capricorn does rule our laws. It rules our governments and what those big wigs put into place for us. So we've already seen Pluto dipping back into Capricorn, along with the buildup of the full moon and Saturn going retrograde, has caused this type of an event to happen, or several of them, right? That has to do with our laws and everything. Like there was a law passed that had to do with refusing service to people of certain identities. There's a law that was what did they call? I'm not really a government and what's it called, a political person at all, you guys. It's not within my blueprint for me to be anything near that, right? So forgive me if I don't get terminologies correct or anything, but just things like that, right? The one about the student loans, that there was a proposal that had to do with student loans and that was rejected or whatever. So those are just a couple of examples that have happened with this full moon building up. So in our worlds, in our governments, there's changes that have to do with laws and rules and regulations. And Capricorn and Saturn rule, what we're supposed to be doing, how we're supposed to be marching in line according to the powers that be, whoever the powers that be are. Now, Pluto in Capricorn, Pluto, it does destroy before it rebuilds. So that's what it dipping back into Capricorn is doing, is like, oh, okay, well, I see there's some changes that we didn't make here. There's something we missed there. Capricorn, it rules like structures and buildings, literal structures and buildings, but you can use that as a metaphor, metaphorically, like brick by brick by brick by brick, building something up in your life. And if there's something going on in the sky that has to do with Capricorn, that has to do with Saturn, or even for you personally, your 10th house, it's all the same type of an energy, you know, and rules the same things. So if there are any bricks missing in the foundation, a full moon in Capricorn will bring it to your attention. And right, Saturn retrograde will bring it to your attention. Pluto in the sign of Capricorn retrograde is going to bring it to our attention. Hey, there's some bricks missing here. We forgot this. We missed a step here. Let's go back over it again and redo it. I always say that Capricorn energy, it's one ruler of the military. And I always call Saturn Drill Sergeant Saturn, right? Big Daddy Saturn, Drill Sergeant Saturn, you know, it's the energy of authority. But I do say it's like Saturn and Capricorn energy will put you through some motherfucking boot camps in life. Drop down and give me 50 push-ups because you skipped one little step. You know, it's that type of a vibe. So in our worlds, we could be finding where we missed a step in things, or maybe there's an authority figure kind of bringing those things to our attention, or there's just like this inner disciplinarian that a lot of us have, you know, self-discipline, a good sense of that, to where we may be like a little bit more tough on ourselves, like tough love or something. Actually, not really that much love when it comes to Capricorn. I'm gonna be straight up and honest. It's like more of the disciplinarian drill sergeant energy, pretty much. But I would say from the Capricorns that I know, it doesn't come off when they say it's tough love, if they ever even use the word love. It doesn't really seem like it, but that's Capricorn energy's way of expressing that they care about you, is by giving you direction, giving you advice on how to correct a situation, or if you have a complaint in life, well, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to get rid of whatever it is that you're complaining about? So that's something that we could be experiencing in our personal lives right now with this full moon in Capricorn, whether it is going within and figuring out a plan of action, because that's what Capricorn wants to know. This is on the Cancer and Capricorn axis though, right? Because a full moon, remember, it always involves two signs. It's not just the one. The energy of Cancer likes to, and forgive me if any Cancers are offended. Cancers always hate when we talk about them crying, but let's be for real. Let's be honest. Cancer, the sign of Cancer in itself, the Cancer archetype, rules babies, okay? Babies and crying and sensitivity and mothers and being attached to mother. You guys, the sign of Cancer rules crying, sitting there and crying and wallowing in the woe is me type of an energy. Whereas Capricorn is the opposite. It's like, okay, well, you're crying about this. Well, what are you going to do to stop yourself from crying, you know? What are you going to do to fix the problem so you don't cry about this ever again in your life? I have Capricorns that are very close to me. I have sisters that are Capricorns. One that is an actual like blood relative sister, the only one that I have. I have some as well that I count as sisters that are, well, close friends and not blood related. But hey, my fourth house is in Aquarius, so blood doesn't always matter when it comes to family to me. But anyway, very close Capricorns, close to my heart and in my circle, inner circle. They are, I know that they're not the ones that I can just cry to, and they're going to sit there and cry with me or pat me on the head or on the back and be like, oh, honey, oh my goodness, oh, I'm so sorry this happened to you. Not the ones. Not my Cappies. Maybe my Pisces homegirls I can do that with, yes, but the Capricorns, no ma'am. They are going to be like, okay, well, you should do this, and maybe you should do this, and you should try this. And if you say, well, no, that doesn't work for me, they're just going to get annoyed with your ass and be like, well, what do you want me to do? Why are you telling me this? Why are you crying to me? Capricorn energy loves to help out by helping you to solve your problems. All the earth signs are like that. Capricorn is more about like, what's your plan? Like, what's your plan of action, you know, to make your future better and for you to learn from your mistakes and for you to not repeat them again and end up suffering and crying, pretty much. So there could be some of those themes that come up in your life, just for us in general as a collective under a full moon in Capricorn. It's like cry, get the tears out. You know, this is the sun and Mercury in the sign of Cancer. So there's some things that maybe we're super sensitive about, but then it's just like, okay, well, what are we going to do to get rid of whatever it is that's ailing us? The fact that, once again, Pluto is in Capricorn, it makes it all the more powerful. Even though I'm going to be a nerd and say, by degree, this is not a conjunction. The full moon is at 11 degrees of Capricorn, and then Pluto is at 29 degrees of Capricorn. So they are so far away from each other, but just being in the same sign, the same area of your chart, aka your life, it is going to be affected by both, planetary activities, right? Capricorn energy, this full moon, it's popping. What's going on in your worlds? Okay, where are you applying more discipline, more structure? Where are you putting some plans of action together and putting them in place and saying, you know what, I'm going to stick to this and I'm going to push through no matter what. Left, right, left, good on up, forward march. Where am I doing that? Okay, in my own world. Now, a good saving grace to this full moon is it is in a trine aspect to Jupiter in Taurus. So a trine is the strongest positive aspect, lucky aspect, or whatever. And then we have Jupiter is a ruler of, good luck and good fortune or whatever. But Jupiter likes to take the easy route, where Capricorn and Saturn say, you can't take the elevator, you have to take the stairs, especially when it comes to success and achievement and goals and things like that. Jupiter is like, hell yeah, there's a fucking elevator and I'm gonna hop on that right now, like, to get to where I want to go. Jupiter likes to take shortcuts and get free passes and, all the easier parts of life. That's what Jupiter is about. So Jupiter is making a trine aspect to this full moon in Capricorn, which kind of eases things up a little bit, eases up on the drill sergeant energy just a tad. And Jupiter, I always say, like I told you guys in the last full moon video, I call him like rich, lucky Uncle Jupiter. So it's like, Uncle Jupiter, can you give us a free pass, to maybe skip a few of the steps that Saturn wants us to climb up, like within drudgery and everything, like, and difficulties. Can we get a free pass to like skip a few or something, so whatever it is that comes up in our lives under this full moon, it's a little bit easier. It's not as difficult. So wherever this full moon is happening in our lives, we are being encouraged to get up, no excuses. Capricorn energy hates when people make excuses, right? It's like, no excuses, just get it done completely and all the way. So we all may have a little bit more of that attitude around this full moon surrounding it, or find that others are having that attitude towards us. And, or, we may find that life circumstances are kind of like kicking us in the ass a little bit more and telling us, I don't care how you feel right now, because the Cancer side of it is all about feelings and emotions and, well, I feel this way and therefore, but the Capricorn side is going to say, you know what, let's get the little feelings out, let's get them done and over with, and then, hey, let's go ahead and no excuses, get whatever this is in our lives taken care of, whatever needs to change, whatever needs to happen. And it is all dependent upon your sign. Mostly it is your rising sign that matters the most, but your sun definitely can be affected. And then lastly, the moon sign as well can be affected and can show where there's like more discipline needed or discipline happening. You remember Saturn and Capricorn. Capricorn rules authorities, and it rules the government. It rules police officers. So some of us, may need to watch out a little bit when it comes to being a law-abiding citizen, okay? Because the ones who make sure we are abiding by the laws, they may be a little bit more on one extra because of the full moon in the sign that rules what they do. And then we have Pluto retrograde back there, collecting karma, okay, checking people. on what they've been up to, and if they've been doing the right thing, whether or not they've been doing the right thing. And also we have the ruler, which is Saturn, retrograde, collecting karma. Just keep in mind, wherever this full moon is happening for you, to stay on top of your responsibilities, okay? To avoid any type of trouble, any type of conflict, any type of disciplinary action from whether it's disciplinarians in your life, meaning your parental figures, if you still have them and deal with them, or within your company, if you work for a company, or just in general, the government. Capricorn rules your elders, whoever you count as your elders in your life, if you still answer to any, you don't want them on your ass about things right now. You know what I'm saying? So just make sure you stay on top of your game. But also, if you yourself are a disciplinarian, you're playing that role anywhere in your life, in work or personal career, then you may be feeling a little bit more disciplinarian-esque right now, and like just checking fools on things, making sure that people are on top of their responsibilities that maybe you assign to them. So that's what this full moon is about, you guys. And I am going to go through each sign and let you know both sides of the coin, which is the Cancer side and the Capricorn side, how this full moon is going to be affecting you. I changed clothes just to fit the energy of Leo planets that are in the sky right now as I'm filming this. But all right, let's go ahead and get into your horoscopes, you guys. Remember, sun sign does matter, but the rising sign is the most accurate, okay? So for Aries, where's this full moon in Capricorn hitting you? It's hitting you right in the career zone, right in the zone that rules being in charge of your life. So we always say that the 10th house, where the Capricorn side of the full moon is at, is the house of career. That is true, but not everybody is working. Some people are retired. Some people are homemakers, So the 10th house, I find it to be, it's very much about taking charge of your life, even if it is your personal life, because the opposite end of that, of course, is Cancer, is the 4th house, which is your personal life. The 10th house is also your public life too, and your public image, like how people really see you and perceive you, especially if you're in the public eye in any type of way. So that's the 10th house. There is something that is shifting and changing there. What could it be? Well, for some of you Aries, if you are a career-oriented person, you do have a career that you're working on or that you've already been within for a while, something is popping there. Meaning maybe you change directions, especially Pluto is back there retrograde, wrapping things up with destroy and rebuild when it comes to your title that you hold in life. Your legacy that you want to build and leave behind is also the 10th house. So what does that mean for you? Well, some of you Aries who are career oriented, maybe you've had to change careers several times over the last 10 years with Pluto up there in your 10th house. And maybe this full moon is activating this to where you're changing directions again. And we have a full moon in Capricorn every single year. So it's not like every year you guys are going to be changing jobs. But this is just a possibility that it can bring. Or maybe you could have the 10th house is authority figures and bosses. So maybe you have a change in authority within your job and your career. Or maybe you change your own title. Maybe you're a CEO, but you change it to something else. Or, there's something that's changing. Maybe for some of you, because this is the 4th and 10th house involved, maybe some of you guys have to move for the sake of advancing within your careers. You got a raise or a promotion, or you change something and that forces you to move, or there's something to do with family and your career that's like going hand in hand with each other. It's like one area affects another. Maybe something changes within your schedule or something, and it's like, okay, well, I have this opportunity, but it's going to cause me to change my schedule, which in return is going to cause some 4th house changes, meaning like my family, you guys are going to have to adjust to me having a different schedule now. Maybe even if you have pets or plants, maybe you're going to need assistance with caring for them, because you have to put a lot more focus up there in the 10th house with some big change that's popping there. But also, like I said, it's authority, your own position of authority and taking control of your life. Like I've noticed right now, I'm having like a lot of 10th house transits. My 10th house is in the sign of Leo. As I'm recording, there's a lot of energy there. And I've noticed because the 10th is opposing the 4th is your home zone, that I've been really career focused and driven, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, I want my house to be like, I want to be on top of like keeping it clean. I want it to be immaculately clean and organized. And the 10th house and the 4th house are also the axis of being a parent. So if any of you are parents, you know, maybe there's something that you're going to change with the way that you discipline your children, or maybe you're going to be implementing more structure into the lives of your children, and changing some things around the household to do with that. Maybe teaching them more responsibilities, or maybe your own parental figures, your relationships with them, or you know, something to do with them can change as well. So that's what's going on for Aries. All right, next up is Taurus. So especially if you're a Taurus rising, or a Taurus sun sign as well, like me. So this full moon is hitting our 9th and 3rd axis for Taurus people. So what does this mean? This is the axis that has to do with learning. It has to do with the mind and how the mind works. I call the 3rd house is like, well, it used to be magazines back in the day. You know, nobody really reads magazines that much anymore, but like articles, like you skim through an article or like a post online and you just read the headline. You don't really read anything that's typed out, right? And the 9th house is the opposite. The 9th house is you read like a book, an actual book, or you read the whole blog, or you read the post that's underneath. You read all the verbiage underneath a post online, right? Not just the headline. The 3rd house, I say, that's around the way. That's your neighborhood. That's your city. And then the 9th house is the world, right? The rest of the world, or at least like the next state over and beyond. So that's the difference between those two areas. But it is also your ability to travel. The 3rd and the 9th house are your ability to travel. That even means driving. So I find that when there's a full moon that happens on the axis of your 9th and your 3rd, you need to be careful driving. You need to make sure you keep up on your car's maintenance. Maybe there's something very significant that's going on there, or keeping up with like your ability to travel, like licenses, like your driver's license or your vehicle registration, or even the 9th house is like passports and visas and other type of documentation that allows you to travel long distances and to other countries. So you could have something going on with like something coming to a conclusion, or something that is brought to your attention that you need to take care of and finalize to do with any of that stuff. The 9th and 3rd house axis, like I said, it's the mind, but it's also learning. So real world things that could be going on. Some of you guys could be finishing up something to do with some education, some training. It could be training for a job. It could be you just wanting to learn things for the sake of being skilled. But it can also have to do with like you learning underneath like a guru, like somebody who is very skilled and knowledgeable of something, and you're an apprentice. Something to do with learning. There's a completion there. But yeah, Pluto is back in your your 3rd house. No, Pluto's back in your 9th house for Tauruses. Okay, like I'm a Taurus sun, right? And Jupiter is also in our sign right now, Taurus, and Jupiter and the 9th house, they rule pretty much the same things. So maybe there's something that you have to wrap up with, your ability to travel, or your mind being able to see yourself as a citizen of planet Earth, and that you have that power, which Pluto rules, you know, you have that power to travel planet Earth, or at least like do what you have to do to gain that power. Jupiter hanging out in our sign wants us to, if you don't have a passport, Taurus, maybe some of you guys are getting your passports or renewing your passport if you already have one. But seeing yourself as a citizen of planet Earth, the whole planet, not just your little city, town, neighborhood, or even your state, that is the 9th house. So there's something that our minds are being open to, whether that means with traveling vicariously, traveling through the mind only, or actually getting out and physically traveling around. There's something that this full moon is bringing to our attention, along with Pluto back in our ninth house, retrograde, like kind of wrapping things up and helping to empower us in that area. So next up is Gemini, Gemini sun, Gemini rising, especially. This full moon is happening on the axis of your 8th and 2nd houses, which is money, 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 shmoney, okay? So what does this mean for you guys? You guys have had Pluto in your 8th house for over a decade, and now Pluto's back in there. And then we have this full moon in there now too. So the 8th and 2nd house axis, whenever there's a full moon there, there's something that you're deciding upon between those two areas of life, and or two ways of making money, two priorities as far as your finances. So the 2nd house is you punch a clock, right? Or your own efforts that you put forth in order to generate money. Like working really hard to get money is the 2nd house. For example, like, yeah, if you punch a clock, or even if you are an entrepreneur, like a freelancer, you getting out there and working, physically working, and that's the only way you're going to have revenue coming in, that's the 2nd house. The 8th house is the opposite, obviously. It's more like you have money that just flows in, right? You don't really have to do much work or put in much effort, or maybe you already did work and you're getting residuals from that. That's the 8th house. Or maybe you have support from other people. That can mean like family or the government for some people, especially with you guys having the 8th house in Capricorn, the sign that rules the government. Maybe something is changing with government assistance that you're trying to get or obtain, or that you've been getting. There could be some sort of decision made, a final ruling about something that comes up there. This could be something to do with your credit. Something to do with your credit that you are changing. I know that Pluto in the 8th house has done a number on a lot of Geminis and Gemini risings. And you guys have gone through a big destroy and rebuild over the last decade when it comes to your credit. Ups and downs and destruction and power and gain of power, loss of power, stuff like that. Divorces, separations of assets, joining and then separating, you know. I have seen all of the above with Gemini risings, especially that are close to me. But yeah, so there's some things that are being wrapped up there. Maybe some of you guys are separating yourself financially from another person. And so therefore you have to be more independent and on your own, which is more the 2nd house energy, or maybe vice versa. Maybe you've worked your ass off, Gemini, and now you're partnered up with someone who really wants to help you out in the realm of finances and give you financial support, and you guys work together on building a life together, you know. So you guys make some important decisions to join forces financially. Or maybe some of you guys are just like, hey, I would like things to be a little bit more easier for me financially, so therefore I'm going to create some sort of residual income, some sort of passive income for myself, and you know, just take my power back in that area and not just rely on an employer and punching a clock in order to support myself. Or if you have a family or dependents, support us, just for us to be able to survive, not just live but survive. Like, I have to bust ass, you know. Maybe that's something that you want to change. So something you're gaining power back, or you're figuring out, at least getting some enlightenment on how to gain more power or power back with your finances for Gemini people. All right, so next up is Cancer. So and happy birthday to all the Cancers. This is your season, the season of your sun sign, that is. So for Cancers, the full moon in Capricorn and Cancer is happening in your 1st house, which is you, and also your 7th house, which is others/relationships. Ooh, interesting. What does it mean for you guys? You guys could be making some pretty big decisions that have to do with, well, let's just start with a traditional marriage, okay? If you're in a marriage or a major relationship partnership, then maybe you're giving some ultimatums there. Pluto has been hanging out in your relationship house for the last 10 years. Destroy and rebuild, destroy and rebuild. For a lot of you guys, your relationship, your love life, I should say, has been like that. Pluto's back there now, so maybe you're taking a look at a situation between yourself and another person and taking a second look at it and saying, either this isn't really working, and so here we go with Big Daddy Saturn, energy of Capricorn, telling you, pointing a finger at you, like, listen, Cancer, you already know this person is no good. Okay, you already know what you need to do. But for some of you guys, it's not so dramatic as like a breakup or a divorce or something. Maybe it's the opposite. Pluto does rule the deep soul, right? So maybe some of you guys have found yourself a nice little deep soulful connection with someone, and you're deciding, you know what, I think I can stick with this person. I think I can invite them into my little comfy shell, and be cool with them hanging out in here. I think I want to do that. So maybe that's something that you guys are doing. It can be either end of the spectrum. But maybe you guys are deciding, some of you, it's not based around another person, but maybe it's more internal, because this full moon is hitting you in one, on one hand, and on another hand, you're ruled by the moon. So every full moon is like super impactful for Cancer. So it doesn't matter what sign it's in, but especially it's in your sign. Maybe some things are more internal, with you no longer caring what others think, or letting others have an influence on you with something that you're trying to change in your life about yourself, or maybe you're changing your relationships with others in general. The seventh house doesn't have to mean a marriage partner. It can just be others and your interactions with other human beings one-on-one. So there's something that is, I know I hate to keep repeating myself, but everyone is like taking their power back and taking control over something in their lives under this full moon, because of the sign that it's in. And then there's also Pluto involved, so taking something back that once was yours, but you feel like others have taken away. Whatever that means for you, Cancer, that's what's going on for you guys. All right, so next up is Leo sun, but Leo rising as well. This full moon is going to be on your 6th and 12th house axis. I call this the mind, body, and soul axis. This is also the health and well-being axis. Okay, there's so much. I can really go in on the 6th and 12th house axis, because as much as the backbone of our lives relies upon the what they call the angular houses, like the first, like the 10th, the 4th, the 1st, the 7th, that cross, that is literally the backbone of our existence and operations as human beings and souls. I would put the 12th and 6th house axis up there with the level of importance, with us like having complete functionality as whole beings as well. Because the 6th house, this is where the Capricorn part is at, right? You guys have had Pluto there for over 10 years. This is, it's work, it's daily duties and responsibilities. It's your daily schedule and routine. What time do you wake up? What do you do when you wake up? What time do you go to bed? What do you do before you go to bed? What's your diet looking like? How much exercise are you getting? And all of that basic human stuff, right? That we need to like physically function, but also there's the opposite end where the Cancer energy is at, the 12th house, which is how well are you functioning as a soul, and also as an emotional person. How's your mental health doing? 12th house is associated with all of that stuff. So you guys are, it's hard to balance all that stuff out, right? The 6th and 12th house axis is like one of the hardest ones to balance out in life. I would say it is the angular ones, the 1st, 7th, 4th, 10th, but also the 6th and the 12th, hardest to balance. Because on one hand, the 6th house wants you to go, right? Work. It rules work, your job, which a lot of people, adults that are watching this, I'm sure, are working adults, or either that, or if you're not working at a job, you at least have a schedule and a routine. We all do. You have to get up, you have to wash your face, you have to brush your teeth, you have to shower, you have to, all the stuff to take care of yourself and your immediate environment. Is the 6th house. And the 12th house is about like taking time out for you and relaxing and making sure your mental health is straight, and a lot of people don't know how to balance all of that out. have a set routine and a schedule, but then also take time to just do nothing. Like sixth house energy is much like Virgo, meaning it is all about like strictly being on a schedule and a routine, and you can't budge from it or else the operation of life is going to be out of whack. And the 12th house is like Pisces, which is like, fuck it, man, let's just float. What's a clock, what's a schedule? Like, what are those? So it's really hard to make sure that you experience both, but your life is still together. So there's something that you guys, Leos, are figuring out that has to do with all of that. Maybe your physical health is good. That's where Pluto's at. That's where the lunar part of this is at. You've got plans for your physical health to be in order, but what about the mental? What about the emotional? What are you going to do? Maybe you're getting a new job. You guys have also been assigned going through destroy and rebuild when it comes to where you're working at and what you're doing for a living, because of Pluto, right? Not every full moon in the sixth house every single year is going to give you a new job, Leo, but maybe there's something changing at your job, like your schedule. Maybe some of you guys are changing your schedule because you really need to take time out for the sake of all of your health, right? Your physical, spiritual, mental, all of that. You need to take some time off. So maybe you guys are changing your schedule to make sure that you can make that happen. Or maybe some of you guys have been floating, in the 12th house for a while without too much structure in your life. And you're like, I need to get a job, or I need to get on a new routine or a new schedule for myself. Maybe I've just been doing whatever, floating and not paying attention to my physical body that much, but I need to get on a diet. Maybe I need to start exercising a little more. So there's something on that axis that you guys are really taking control over your life a little bit more, and making sure that you're good, that you look good, you feel good, and that you just really feel good in your physical body, and that you just feel good overall as a human being. So next up is Virgo, Virgo rising especially. This full moon is happening on the axis of your 5th and 11th houses. So that is the axis that has to do with you and your sense of belonging in this world, right? The 5th house is like self-esteem. It is you feeling confident as you on your own. You're in the spotlight, your name's in lights, you're center stage, everybody's looking at you as just you. And then the 11th house is the opposite. It's like you belonging with other people, you associating yourself with other people, or other people associating you with others because of a label of a group or an organization or a community or something. And so whenever people mention the name of whatever that collective is, you're included within it automatically in everything that they do and everything that represents them. The lunar part of this and where Pluto is at is in your 5th house. So that is more of you guys having empowerment when it comes to like your own, standing on your own, shining on your own, pretty much. Maybe you guys are deciding to disassociate with certain people, or it could be an organization. An organization can mean a company that you work for. Now, we associate work more so with being like the earth houses, like the 2nd, the 6th, and the 10th. Not so much the 11th, but I have found through experience and observation and study of real humans under this astrological microscope that the 11th house can mean a company that you're working for. And you belonging to a new team, right? Teams are 11th house. So maybe you have to make some decision that has to do with whether or not you should act as a part of a team or a group, or act just as you yourself, Virgo, under your own name, just you. There's something you're deciding there. Now, the 5th house is also associated with creativity, creative projects. The 11th house on the opposite end is like the public too, So maybe you guys are figuring out something to do with, should you release a project to the public? Or should you just keep it to yourself because you just did it because you love it? Could be something like that. But also the 5th house is dating, romance, having babies and children. Or if you already have them, you know, your relationships with them. So maybe there's something that's brewing and developing there, and coming to a conclusion or a final decision. All right, maybe some of you guys are deciding whether you want to go in a certain direction romantically with someone. The 11th house, the Cancer part of the full moon, this is in your friendship zone. And then the 5th house is your dating and romantic zone. So maybe some of you guys are making a decision of whether or not to keep someone as a friend, right, in the friend zone, versus get more cozy and romantic with them. Something like that could be going on. I'm thinking of, you guys know I am inspired by real life scenarios, by real people. When I give these horoscopes, I'm not reading from anything, okay? This is like real life people that I'm thinking about. I know a few Virgo risings. Virgo rising men tend to love me for whatever reason. And, you know, so I'm thinking of a little scenario or two, or maybe, I don't know. We'll see. Strictly having someone in the friend zone versus what's good. But for you guys that are not concerned about dating or other people at all, maybe it is just you may want to distance yourself from just riding the coattails of a certain group of people, or affiliations that you have, like that maybe they put you in the spotlight. Maybe you want to put yourself in the spotlight. Maybe you want to make a name for yourself, because the Capricorn energy is about legacy. And it is about title, you know, the title that you hold in life, the status that you hold in life, how people know you. So maybe you guys are just really honing in on what that means for you. All right, next up is Libra, especially Libra rising. This full moon is on the axis of your 4th and 10th houses, just like your opposite brethren on the zodiac wheel, Aries. Okay, so what does this mean for you guys? The part of the full moon, the lunar part, and where Pluto is at, is in your 4th house. That's your home zone. That's your comfort zone. That is your literal living space and home. But it's also your personal life. It's personal life versus your public life, your public image, which doesn't always mean that every Libra that I'm talking about is like a celeb or something, you know. It can mean just how people see you and know you, even on social media. The 10th house and 11th house are associated with how people see you in public, and the new public is social media. So changing something there. Maybe you guys want to be a little bit more private and not really, maybe you're deciding what's public and what's private for you, right? For example, your social media profiles. I mean, that's where everybody lives now, right? On planet Earth is online. So, I mean, I have to give it a mention that maybe you're deciding, you know what? I know I'm a Libra. I like being cute or whatever. Okay. I like posting cute selfies of myself and whoever I'm romantically involved with, and me with my friends and having a good time. But maybe I should be a little bit more private with certain things. I don't want to make anyone paranoid or anything, but Pluto in the 4th can have people's like private lives feel like invaded sometimes, you know, or like it can, even if it hasn't been, maybe you just feel a little bit more protective over your private life with Pluto transiting your 4th house. Or maybe some of you have had some incidents, you know. I could think of a Libra rising influencer or social media YouTuber, right? Who had some incidents, you know, they're pretty big on YouTube, and then they had spoken about like moving, and then like I remember it was like a full moon in Capricorn during Pluto and Capricorn era that we're in right now, and they moved to a new place in LA, of course, right? And then they ended up having some stalkers, and then they ended up having people steal their packages, and people just watching their place and being weird and taking photos and stuff. So they were just like, wow, I need to step up the security of where I live. And then they ended up moving and stuff like that. So hopefully nothing like that has happened to any of my, you know, Libra rising viewers out there. But this energy in Capricorn in your 4th house can maybe bring some things to your attention about how much you put out there of yourself publicly, that can affect your private life and the security of your private life. So maybe some of you guys, maybe it's not so much that. The 10th house, like I said, it is career. So maybe there's something that you're moving for the sake of a career change. Maybe in another city or state or country, you found this really bomb ass opportunity, but it's going to require a relocation. So maybe you do that. The 4th house is also your family. So maybe something with your career affects your family as well, or vice versa. Maybe there's something really major happening within your family that makes you have to shift gears when it comes to your career, maybe step down from a career, or kind of cut duties and responsibilities in half, or yeah, take a demotion. Is that what it's called? A demotion? Something like that. Or maybe you want to take a promotion in order to put your family or your personal life, your personal self, and where you live and everything in a better situation. But there's some kind of power that you are focusing on having more of in regards to your personal life and where you live and your family and things like that. Being more protective could be something that comes to the forefront. Okay, so next is Scorpios, especially Scorpio risings like moi. So this full moon is happening in our 3rd and 9th houses. Ooh, I can speak forever about this because I've already seen and experienced the effects. So remember, you guys, the effects of the full moon and new moons, you can see, hear, feel, and experience up to like a few weeks before it, at the date of the lunar event. So 3rd and 9th house axis, just like our Taurus buddies on the zodiac wheel, this is the axis of mobility, right? Being able to physically drive around, move around, travel around. And the 3rd house is also communication and your phones popping off. Sorry about that. But yes, it's communication with other people. It's your vehicles, dealings with your vehicles, and ability to travel and everything. So there's something that Scorpios are wrapping up or beginning or initiating, or just like, getting more empowerment within, that has to do with those areas. Shifting and changing because Pluto is there. Pluto's been hanging out in the 3rd house for over a decade. OMG, I have so many stories, you guys, about the 3rd house. But for example, my vehicle, the tags are expired, right? They just did. And I've been trying to get my vehicle to pass emissions, and then it needs repairs, and it needs this and this and this. And so I looked at the sky, right? I looked at this lineup, this full moon, plus Pluto is back there, plus some other transits that I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to procrastinate with getting a temporary tag and being on top of the repairs and the registration and all of that. This is something I can't slack on, okay? Because look at this full moon. I don't even want to speak anything bad into existence, you guys, but any other Scorpio risings out there, make sure you are really on top of your anything to do with your driver's license, your registration, your car insurance. Even insurance is more so 8th house, but your ability to drive and get around. Now the 3rd house is more so being affected by us Scorpios, or we're being affected by it because Pluto is also there under this full moon. But the 9th house is still involved, and as I mentioned with Tauruses, this is the axis of like absorbing lots of information versus little bits and pieces, wanting to really learn a substantial amount of info, or like some sort of skills or something, versus just skimming the surface and like la 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 la, okay, I think I know a couple things about this thing, so therefore I can speak on it even with knowing very little. 3rd house is like that. 9th house is the opposite. It's like, no, I took my time. I learned from the best, and now I'm very skilled and knowledgeable. So maybe there's something educational going on for that you guys are completing. Something that could be heavy on other Scorpios' minds is getting out and exploring and trying new and different things. The 3rd and the 9th house are all about that. Both of them are. But yes, your ability to travel, your passports, your IDs, your registrations, your visas, your this, your that, and also your vehicles. Okay. You can absolutely have something going on there, something shifting, something changing, right? But also something in that area. Just make sure you maintain control. Capricorn energy, it rules the law, it rules the authorities, it rules the police. You don't want to mess with them, especially Scorpios. Right now, we have Mars in the 10th house of authority. So, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. Let's make sure we stay on top of our game. All right, for Sagittarians, this full moon is in your second house, but it's also affecting your eighth house on the opposite end. So it's on that axis, okay? You guys are having some sort of financial breakthroughs going on. Sagittarians, you've already had Pluto hanging out there for 10 years, in your second house. He left for a little bit. You know, he dipped his toe into Aquarius, into your third for a hot second, and now he's back to wrap some things up in your second house. And now there's a full moon there too, in the same short period of time that Pluto has gone retrograde back into there. So what does this mean for you guys? Well, the second house is your possessions. It's also your earned income. So you getting out there and putting in work, putting effort in order to make some money. That is the second house. As I spoke about with your Gemini besties, this is the house of punching a clock. Or if you don't work for another person, you work for yourself. It is the physical work, okay, that you are doing that generates revenue. And if you don't do it, there's no money, you know? So there's something that you guys are finalizing and making decisions about that has to do with your money. Maybe for you guys, just like your Gemini besties, maybe there could be like a loss somewhere. Like, I don't want to make anyone paranoid about, oh my God, she predicted I'm gonna lose my job. But hey, sometimes a full moon in the second house, it does equate to a change in your income, a change in the way that your money is coming in. But the good thing about this is this also involves the eighth house, which is passive income and support from others. So maybe some of you guys, if you do suffer some sort of loss or you make a major change within your earned income, maybe there's some backup support. Maybe someone that you trust, you know, is going to say, hey, listen, Sag, I want to help you out. I'm here for you while you get back on your feet and figure out how else you're going to make ends meet, right? Or maybe for you guys, it could be like, oh, wow, I have to change something with my earned income. And in the meanwhile, you know, I need to tap into some government resources. And maybe that's something that you end up doing. Or maybe some of you guys, it's the opposite. You've had support for a while. You haven't really been working or something. And then with this full moon in the second house, you land that job, you get a job. You know what I'm saying? And it really changes the way, the structure of your finances and your income in your life. For some of you guys, this could be just all internal. Like, you're figuring out how to balance out your money and your budget a little bit better. The eighth house is shared income. So I don't know if maybe you guys have a situation to where you have joint income with a spouse or somebody that you're living with. Even if you're a roommate with somebody, that's eighth house money right there. It's something to do with your credit, could be changing and shifting. But yeah, mostly for you guys, the focus is in on the second house of earned income. So new jobby job for some of you guys, possibly. But yeah, you're definitely really making some major moves with your money. Okay, so for Cappies, for Capricorns, the full moon is in your sign. It's in your opposite sign as well. So that means it's first and seventh house axis between you and Cancer. What does this mean for you? Anything can change for you guys. But mostly, first house is the body. It's the image of yourself that you put out there, whether unconsciously or consciously. It's the way that you dress. The way that your body appears, anything to do with your appearance is the first house. So some of you guys could be changing up your look. Now, we are in Venus retrograde. Okay, the shadow period matters too. Okay, so you guys may want to be cautious of what kinds of changes you're making to your appearance. If you are, I would not recommend anything right now to do with major procedures like plastic surgery or anything like that, right? You guys may want to wait on that till after Venus retro. If this full moon in your first, you're like, I want to transform my look. You know, Pluto's back in there, back in your sign. That rules transformation. That rules plastic surgery and major procedures that alterate your appearance in like really significant, noticeable ways. That's all ruled by Pluto. So if any of you guys are considering any of that, please consider the fact that Venus is in its retrograde period. She will be done with all of that mess and be normal again back in, moving forward into October. Venus rules vanity and beauty. So you know what I'm saying? You may want to wait it out. But if you guys are just wanting to revamp your appearance and change some things about yourself, that's not going to be super costly or regretful, that is, of course, then hell yeah, man. This full moon can definitely bring something out of you that has been dormant for a while. Maybe you just, I don't know, you want to adopt a new identity in some sort of way, a new attitude, a new way of people perceiving you. And like I mentioned earlier, maybe a new way of dressing. You just really analyze the way that people perceive you, your first impression that you give off. Maybe you want it to be a little bit more professional, or maybe you want it to be more approachable. You know, Capricorns, especially Capricorn risings, people could say you guys have RBF, chronic RBF, okay? So maybe you're like, you know what? I think maybe this full moon could be as simple as, I think I should smile a little more, and maybe people will not be so afraid of me and will approach me and, you know, see me as someone who's easy to work with when it comes to business and things like that. Because the opposite end of this is Cancer, which is your 7th house, which is just other people in general. It doesn't always have to be marriage. It's just others. So maybe you're thinking about how others view you and perceive you, and like, you know, maybe you want to lighten things up a little bit, or maybe some of you guys, it's the opposite. Maybe you want to scare motherfuckers away from you because you don't want to be bothered. You're like, wow, people take me as being so approachable, and really, I just don't rock with humans like that, and I don't want anybody to bother me. So let me like put on a little extra RBF power, you know? Let me dress in black more and look like a gargoyle or something. I'm just kidding. That's all stereotypical shit that people attach to Capricorns and Scorpio risings like me. So anyway, oh my god, my hair. This Leo energy though, she's supposed to be making hair look good, and she's like, ugh. Anyway, sorry you guys. The way that others perceive you, there's something about it that's brought to your attention. Maybe it's the opposite. Maybe you're like, you know what everybody thinks about me, or anybody thinks about me. If they think I have chronic RBF, they think I'm mean and evil and rude. I mean, so what? Who cares? I'm just still going to be me and do me. And I'm going to continue moving forward as myself. Okay, making some power moves in life. All right. Gaining my own power, self-control and power back because of Pluto. People can kiss my asshole if they don't like it, you know? Maybe Capricorns, some of you guys are just going to say, you know what, I give up on trying to be approachable and, you know, approachable and nice or whatever. Just to have people still not really rock with me or appreciate me. It's just, let me just be me, man. So it can go either way with you guys. Some of you guys can be either beginning or ending a romantic relationship, a marriage, you know, something like that. It could be going on too because your 7th house is involved. But I would say the more the emphasis is on you, Capricorn. So what you gonna do? What you gonna change? All right, next up is Aquarius. Aquarius rising, especially this full moon is happening on the axis of your 12th and 6th houses. So just like your Leo homies on the opposite end of the wheel, this is the mind, body, and soul axis. Okay, so you feeling good as a whole being, a spiritual being, an emotional being, a physical being. That's what this axis that's being lit up is about. So the biggest emphasis for you guys is on your 12th house, which is more so the emotional and mental and spiritual well-being part of the axis, right? What are you guys doing to make sure that you relax and you take time away from the day-to-day, time away from the rat race, time out of your schedule to just float and be and just exist and not worry about people like clocking you? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's because the sixth house is the opposite end. It's literally work and your job. So some of you guys are like being forced by the universe to take time away from your job, to take vacation time, to take PTO, to take some sick time, something. The 12th house, it is about doing things like yoga, Pilates, stuff like that. Because I'll tell you, right now in the sky, my 12th and 6th houses are activated, right, by the north and south nodes. And I'm noticing what my focuses are going more towards with this axis lit up and what's calling out to me. What's calling out to me is yoga and Pilates, which I've never done. I used to be a dancer, like a dancer, not that type of dancer, but like a hip hop dancer, right? So I used to be super flexible. I never had a problem with being active or flexible, but yoga, Pilates, and the likes, it seems to me like stuff like that, it keeps your physical body in shape, so it satisfies the sixth house end of the axis, but it's also supposed to relax you, I guess. It keeps your body limber and stretched out, but it's supposed to help you to relax. Some of the methods include like more relaxing music and things that are a little bit more chill, breathing techniques and stuff like that. So a focus on your 12th and 6th house axis, maybe you guys can look into some things like that. Maybe it's not exactly yoga and Pilates that are calling out to you, Aquarius, but maybe some physical / mental, spiritual, all together, wrapped into one or two activities that are supposed to help you to really feel good in your body. You know, so if that means taking some time off of work, like I mentioned, hey, it's what you guys have to do. The universe is calling you to do so. Your body calling you to do so. Another cool thing that I've discovered with my 12th house being activated right now, just like you guys with this full moon, is a float tank. 12th house is like Pisces energy, and Pisces, it rules like water and oceans and just floating there doing nothing. Or maybe I went into a float tank for the first time a few weeks ago, and I noticed that they put on like this music, or you can choose your own music, and there's like ambient light and stuff in there. So it's meant for you to just float there and just do nothing and just relax. So maybe that's something that you guys need to look into to release and let go of all the day-to-day stress that's found in your sixth house. Okay, so this can also be you guys tapping more into your spirituality. So the sixth house is like Virgo energy on its own, by itself, is not the firmest believer in astrology and crystals and tarot and things that are just floating that they don't quite understand, like, because it's not always something physical, that intangible that they can just touch. And you know, if they don't understand the system or the way that things work, they're going to dismiss it as bullshit, right? As magic is all bullshit to sixth house energy, Virgo energy. 12th house is the opposite of that. It is the magic. It is just going with it, going with the flow. So maybe some of you guys are having some spiritual experiences. I would say definitely pay attention to your dreams around this full moon. Maybe you guys are having some spiritual experiences that are helping you to grow more in that area and let go of skepticism and pessimism, which is also sixth house, unfortunately, and just adopting more of a go with the flow spiritual attitude. Pretty much this full moon is making a trine aspect to Jupiter. So Jupiter is also a planet of faith and belief and spirituality. So I feel like for Aquarians, this full moon is definitely more on the spiritual side for you guys. All right, Pisces, my fellow fishies. I'm a Pisces moon. So this is our sign, this poppin', especially if you're a Pisces rising or Pisces sun. This full moon is happening in your 11th house, 11th and 5th house axis. So what about your friends? Listen, I used to be able to do that TLC dance back in the day. Oh, my microphone's going to fall if I try to do it, but you guys know, I think they call it the Bart Simpson. I can't do it right now. I'm wearing a dress and jewelry, and this microphone's going to fall. It's just all bad, but if you're a fan of R&B, you remember that video, that song by TLC, What About Your Friends? Okay, Pisces, we are the music moguls of the zodiac, so I'm sure you guys, some of you know what I'm referencing. The 11th house, where Pluto is at, where the full moon, the lunar part of it is at, the most emotional part, is in the friend zone. And then the opposite end is the 5th house, which is just being an individual, a complete individual, not attaching yourself to other people, other people's identities, ideas, labels, titles, any of that. It's just you yourself. There's something going on there, maybe a decision that you're making to maybe you find more of your tribe, your group, your fellow aliens, you know, maybe you guys find more people like that under this full moon energy. Pluto just moved back in there. It's going to be back there dipping in and out for another year, but has been there for like over 10 years. Okay. And more like 14 years, something like that. So some of us have gone through extreme transformations with our friendships, friends coming and going, or, you know, for me as a Pisces, a lot of friends have passed away over the last 14 years. And Pluto does rule death and destruction, unfortunately. So, you know, there's been a lot of lessons there learned with loss and also gaining new groups of people that you feel like you really resonate with, you really rock with. You guys have a lot in common. You guys do the same activities, or, you know, you're involved with some of the same things. Maybe you've been doing a lot of things on your own, Pisces, and you're just like, okay, for example, listen, me as a Pisces moon, even though the moon is kind of like last in the big three to really be affected by a certain transit like this, it's still affected. So let me tell you how I've been feeling as a Pisces moon. Tell me if my fellow fishies, any of you Pisces rising, sun, anything, have been feeling this. I've been feeling lately a lot more like I'm Wall-E. You remember the movie Wall-E? The little robot, and he's like the last creature left on planet Earth, along with like a little roach, but we don't. Ugh. Bleh. Anyway, but Wall-E is one of the last creatures left on Earth. All the other humans have floated up into outer space, and they're all just living in screens. They don't, even if they're next to each other, they're communicating through a fucking screen, right? Does that sound familiar? Isn't that how things are right now? I can really go off on a tangent about this, but this is not the video or the place. But I was just thinking, and I was just telling a friend, confiding in a friend, because I don't really talk about this with many people because they don't really understand. But I was telling a friend the other day, like, oh my God, I'm so happy to hear from you, from a real friend, because I really feel a disconnect with myself, between myself and humanity. 11th house is humanity and the collective. Just being a human, belonging with other humans. Your sense of belonging amongst humanity is the 5th and 5th and 11th house axis, okay? So I've been feeling like I'm all by myself, which is the 5th house, right? It's just me. And then the 11th house is the collective. I feel like I don't belong because everybody wants to just communicate only through technology and doing goofy dances and videos and stuff and pointing to words on the screen and not really speaking words to one another. And I'm still here, the earthy Taurus, who's like, hey guys, I still like words and text messages and phone calls that are direct, and I don't want to just do a goofy dancing video and have you stare at it. Like, hello? Where's all the humans? Where'd everybody go? I don't know. It just feels, I feel like disconnected from humanity. So I don't know if any of you other Pisces have been feeling that in your own type of way. It could be humanity in general, or it could be like if you associate yourself with like a group or a community or something. Are you finding yourself questioning if you should go like in either direction? Should you really attach yourself to a group or a community or, you know, like a label or something? Or should you just stay solo? You know, just keep your own name as you and representing your own self, and your own actions are all that represents you, not anything to do with anyone else. Now, the focus of this full moon for Pisces people is more so in the 11th house. So maybe you guys are focused more on finding more of your tribe, finding these friends that understand you, and you're like eccentric and different Piscean ways, you know, instead of just feeling like, okay, I'm rocking my own show in the 5th house, right? So it's important for you guys to focus on feeling like you belong in society, whatever your society is, wherever it is. Not feeling left out, having a good support system of really good people that are relatable to you. All right, guys, that is it for my video here with your horoscopes for the full moon in Capricorn, July 3rd of 2023. Thank you to Nadiya Shah and her team once again for reaching out to me and trusting me to provide you guys with some insights. I hope they're helpful to you. Happy July 4th. Happy Independence Day to my US and A homies out there. I hope you guys have a safe and happy holiday. And be sure to follow me on Instagram under @CosmicHomegirl. I'm also on YouTube under Cosmic Homegirl. And you can find me and my services that I provide on my website, which is IndigoMoonAstrology.com. All right, so if you're interested in readings or anything else that I do, you can hit up my website. I'm active in my Instagram stories @CosmicHomegirl. I post a lot of funny things, memes and art and things to educate about astrology. So check me out there, and I hope to see you guys again soon. Happy full moon. All right, peace.